For topic 2, we need to introduce the idea of an angle, okay? And in the last video at the end, I told you really need to understand the definition of array, okay? So let's just review. Array has one endpoint and extends in one direction indefinitely. Indefinitely. Okay, so we would have an endpoint and then we extend in one direction indefinitely. That is array. Okay. Now an angle, and I think I'm missing a word. It should say an angle is made up of two rays that share a common endpoint called a vertex. Okay. So if we have a ray, and then from the same endpoint we have another ray, we get what is called an angle. Okay, so this is an angle, this shared endpoint between the two rays, this is called a vertex. Okay, so anytime you have two rays that share an endpoint, that's an angle. Okay, now an angle is named by its vertex and one point on each ray. Now sometimes you can have angles that are just named by their vertex, but then if you have like multiple angles that kind of share the same vertex, you've got to be a bit more specific. So you'll name your angle by the vertex and then 2 points, one on each ray. But there is kind of an order to it. You do a point on one ray, the vertex, and then a point on the other ray. Okay, so you always want your vertex to be in the center of the lettering. Okay. Now, the angle that has vertex B and points on the rays A and C would be denoted as follows. A, vertex B in the middle, C, or it could be angle C, vertex B in the middle, A. Okay, so you just need to make sure that however you order the letters that name your angle, you put the vertex in the middle. Okay, please always make sure the vertex is the middle letter. Okay, now for example 2 here, it says name each angle. Okay, well, for part A, we clearly have our vertex right here, V. So vertex, that's always going to be the shared endpoint between your two rays. And then for our first ray, we have point H. Our second ray, we have point T. So we use this little, it kind of looks like a less than symbol, sort of, but a less than symbol is not flat on one side. Our less than symbol kind of goes up on the top and goes down on the bottom. An angle symbol is like a less than symbol, but very flat on the bottom. Okay, so just be careful with less than versus an angle symbol. All right, so we want to use the angle symbol, and then we want to say it's H, V, T, or if we wanted to, we could call it angle T, V, H. And if you have a standalone angle, like this is an image that has one angle, nothing else going on, you could just call it angle V. But if you're dealing with an image that has like multiple angles and some of these angles might share the same vertex, you have to be very, very specific. Okay. And so use the 3-letter naming of the angle. All right. For part B, we have angle ABC, or we could call this angle CBA. Let's investigate. We know our vertex is right here. Okay, so the vertex has to go in the middle, and then we have an A line naming this angle or this ray. So we could think of it as like a point A and then a point C. Just know that you always name a ray by the end point and some point on the ray. We don't have to get too specific about where the point is. But for us, this angle, remember a less than symbol that's very flat on the bottom. And we want to name this A, B, C, vertex in the middle, or angle CBA. And I made my less than not very flat, so let me fix that. All right, just make sure your vertex is in the center. And that's it. So that's just kind of like the introduction to what is an angle, and then how do we name an angle. In the next video, we're going to talk about some really important types of angles. So we're going to talk about how we measure angles. So when we talk about an angle, like we open an angle up, we talk about how open is the angle. That's how we measure it. So we'll talk more details in the next video. So this one was nice and short.